Welcome to Inspirational Journeys of the Best Minds, a podcast where we explore leadership styles of exceptional individuals who are making a profound impact in today's world. I'm your host, Ria, and today we welcome a truly extraordinary leader with us. Vanessa Sorensen is the Chief Partner Officer, ANZ, and Managing Director of Microsoft New Zealand. Her journey is nothing short of inspiring, categorized by her ability to forge strong partnerships and drive meaningful change. Vanessa believes true accessibility starts with inclusive design. Doing so not only enhances user experience, but also enables individuals of all abilities to fully participate in the digital world. Beyond the workplace, and under Vanessa's leadership, Microsoft has implemented initiatives to increase Maori and Pacific representation in the corporate sector. Her efforts have made a positive ripple effect in the wider community. One aspect that Vanessa advocates for that truly resonates with myself as well is her passion for education, especially when it comes to empowering girls to study and embrace STEM subjects. She strongly believes in the importance of making technology accessible and available to all children around the world. I'm excited to be speaking to Vanessa today and learning more about her journey as a leader in tech. Welcome to the podcast, Vanessa. It's a pleasure to have you with us today.
And you, Ria, thank you. I'm thrilled to be with you today.
So before we start our conversation and go a bit deeper into leadership, I'd like to maybe, if we can set the stage and understand where was it where you grew up and how did that impact what field you decided to pick in your career?
Yeah, I had a very unusual upbringing, Ria. Pretty idyllic, actually, until I was about the age of 7. My parents divorced, separated, not that uncommon in the 70s. And my brother and I pretty much were with my mother, and my mother met her new partner who was living in a caravan park and suggested, don't buy a house, Carol, move into a caravan park. It's much cheaper. And weirdly, actually, I kind of thought it was kind of cool, like camping full time. But it was the first time I really felt a bit of a stereotype and being a bit different. And a lot of my friends in the first caravan park we lived in were Maori kids. And so that's where a lot of my passion stems from. They were my best friends. We were all running around bare feet and visualizing a different world, I suppose. And then my mother decided that we'd have a new life when we moved to Australia. And that began the journey. I ended up going to, I can never remember, 8 or 9 different schools.
Wow.
We started in Sydney, we moved to Muswellbrook, which is in Newcastle, we moved to Cardwell. We were then homeless in Townsville. We lived in a tent for about 6 months, and then we landed in the final caravan park in Cairns. So I did not have your typical upbringing. And then at the age of 17, I decided to get out, which meant buying myself a one-way ticket back to New Zealand. I arrived, I took a taxi to my father's home, knocked on his door and said, "Hey, Dad, I'm your daughter. I'm moving in." And he was like, "Okay." I remembered you called about a month or so ago. And of course I said, "You're welcome." And so that is literally how I fell into this incredible career in tech.
But how did you decide to be in the tech field? How did that lead you to tech? Given that you had to go through so many challenges growing up and so many different environments for that matter, how did that lead your path to tech?
I'd love to say that it was this young girl that visualized a tech career. It absolutely wasn't. My father's next door neighbor started a tech startup.
Mm-hmm.
And so, I'm really showing my age now, but this is sort of 35 odd years ago. And after living with my dad for about 5 days, he's like, "Right, you need a job." And he asked his next door neighbor, Gary, if he needed someone to help. And Gary said, "Actually, we need someone to answer the phones. Come in and be a contractor." And this tech startup, funny enough, actually became a New Zealand leader around Microsoft products.
Wow.
And I started as the receptionist, and I found myself selling to customers as they were ringing. And I really found my place. Like I just couldn't believe it. This is the startup world of tech. This is, I just didn't even realize the bubble I was in, to be honest. And so it was no kind of direct pathway. I literally fell in it. And it just kickstarted the most incredible career for me that I can only say it's been exhilarating. It's been hard. It's been paving the way for others, but honestly, one that I'm just so pleased I landed in, quite frankly.
So from the startup that you started working with, what was it in terms of like, were you also studying alongside something around in STEM?
I really wasn't. And I must admit, this started my journey of, I suppose, keeping my past to myself. So people who really knew me and knew my past. But this is where the imposter syndrome monster in my head going, you're uneducated, you didn't go to the right school.
Mhm.
University was never even a path for me. I mean, there wasn't even one in Cairns, but it just wasn't an option. And so I absolutely became a personal learner. Not going to university, but I really did everything that was offered to me. I even remember going on a Microsoft Excel course when I was first starting and like, what is this thing? But it opened up a curiosity in me around how the or the tech industry and a computer on every single desk can truly transform business. And so you name it, I did it from a course perspective. And but always through my early days in my career, definitely didn't feel good enough. I was definitely the only woman at the table. So there weren't the role models. And so I would lean in rather than lean out. And,
Mhm.
for me, it's just always be that learner. There's a saying at Microsoft say, don't be a know it all, be a learn it all. And that's been me since I can remember.
That's amazing to have that courage to keep going, when you're maybe sometimes if you're feeling low and you don't formally educate in this field, it can be quite daunting. How did that, your entire, this journey, how did it lead to Microsoft? And what was your first role at Microsoft?
Yeah. Well, so that job that I got in the startup, I actually was fired from. So I always say that because I was accused of something I hadn't done.
Hmm.
And I was devastated, Ria. Like I remember just thinking, man, they've really questioned my integrity. And it got found out that it had absolutely nothing to do with me. It's a long story, but I always say to people, you're going to be fired or made redundant at least once in your life. And when it happened to me at a young age, I really saw something in myself. Like I said, no, I'm going to go to court. I don't want the money. I want to clear my name. So there was a tenacity always in me, even though it was probably one of the scariest things I have ever been through. Because this was my family. Like I really felt that I was there for life. Like this was my family. From there, I went to an organization that turned into Spark. So, Wang, for anyone that's listening to this, has been around as long as I have, will remember Wang, that turned into Genai, that Telecom then bought, then Spark bought. So, I was with that organization for 24 years and I was not looking to leave. I loved it. I'd been constantly promoted. Microsoft rang me and I turned them down, Rhea. I actually can't believe that, but I did. I said, no, I have unfinished business here. I've also learned about myself. I'm extremely loyal. And I wanted to prove that the role I was in, it wasn't a fluke, that I didn't get it just because I was a female. And I truly had things to showcase that actually I get this business thing. And about 8 months later, Microsoft or myself don't remember who called who. And I didn't even really know what I'd said yes to, but I knew I wanted to join a movement. I wanted to join a company that stood for change, that could create a platform to do good. And man, I've been there 6.5 years and I'm in awe of what our teams do. And it's the first time I truly felt I could be my full, authentic self.
That's amazing. I think finding your belonging, I think
Yeah,
that's what it is.
definitely. Definitely.
So throughout the entire experience where, you started with a company that you excelled and operated and found success in, and then moving into Microsoft, what were some of the initial leadership lessons that you gained from people that you looked up to, and what were the ones that now you embody within your teams?
There's so many. Honestly, I think every step, it's probably more the learnings when we fail or feel like we fell down. I think it's the people that really push the ladder down and said, Vanessa, come up. And, there's just been so many people. In fact, I went to a conference in Sydney just a few weeks ago thousands of people there for an AI tour. This
Mhm.
person's walking towards me. And this guy, 30 odd years ago, became my very first mentor. And I haven't seen him for years. And Ron and I are just going and hearing his story of what he saw in me, way more than I could see in myself. I said to him, "You've got no idea of what those mentoring sessions and breakfast meetings truly did for me." And he said, "Actually, you taught me so much." And it's sometimes those serendipity moments when you meet someone and they're willing to offer you help. He said, "You drove every meeting. You followed up on everything that I suggested, and you actually taught me a lot." And so we were just having this moment just a few weeks ago. And there's so many incredible people throughout my journey that literally believed in me more than I believed in myself. And I say that to the whole audience: find those people. Honestly, it's as simple as that. And they are out there.
Given your role at Microsoft, it's a very heavy responsibility that you know you're carrying on your weight of your shoulders. What is it that drives you with your teams and what motivates you to keep going? And how do you empower them?
Well, I honestly think for me, growing up with so little, extremely poor, I I just feel so privileged, and I feel my team feel that. Like every day is just incredible. I pinch myself and say, how did this chick from a caravan park end up here? And it doesn't even matter if you've had a background like mine. I think a lot of people feel like that. So my leadership style is, I don't know if you've ever seen Ted Lasso, but believe, like, it's you don't have a great day every day.
Hmm.
Find the people you can truly talk to authentically. Get it out, get it off your chest, and then get moving on again. Like life's full of surprises. Some are up, some are down, some are sideways. You know what? Whatever's bothering you today, I doubt will be bothering you in 12 months' time. And I just remember thinking that when I'd get so overly stressed about things and thinking, is it worth it? And don't get me wrong, I think there's an age and stage, Rhea. I think as you get older, you become more comfortable about whatever is perceived as risk or, I've certainly heard this feedback, you're really bossy. I go, no, I'm confident. You know,
Mhm.
you're wearing too, short a dress. Well, am I? Like the things that you hear, don't take them on. Like it's just do you. And I think once I learnt to do me and be comfortable in me and what I stand for, I feel that I just became more confident. And I used to hate it when people would give you feedback and say, look, just be a bit more confident. You can't dial that up. You can't go to a course and, and learn how to be more confident. Confidence comes in being comfortable when you fail, that you get back up and you try again and you admit it, apologizing when you've done something wrong or stuffed up, and be a truly authentic leader that puts people around you that are so much better than you. And that's what I have. I have a team. I went away for 2 months sabbatical last year with my husband. My team stepped up and nailed it. And I've come back and said, keep doing that. Like it's freed me up to do different things and have the courage to do those sorts of things. So, yeah, my style is be real, give real coaching, give real feedback. People crave it and do it with heart.
I was just going to ask you about your sabbatical because that, of course, is a big step. You know, taking a step back, moving yourself away from the responsibilities for 2 months, letting your team drive the boat.
Yeah.
How was that, and why? How did you come to that decision of taking a sabbatical?
Well, my husband turned 60 last year. We've been together since I was 17. And so that girl that arrived in this beautiful country of New Zealand, he became my boyfriend and we're still together today. In fact, our 30th wedding anniversary. So I he turned 60 and I'm like, let's go follow the Rugby World Cup. And he's like, well, how are we going to do that? And I said, I'm going to step out of work. I'm going to talk to my boss. And it was really interesting, Ria. I had people texting me asking if I was okay, if my health was okay. Was I in an HR discussion? Was I leaving? Like, no, I'm just going and having a holiday because not many leaders in senior roles step out for that long. It's one of the best things I have ever done. I watched because I do wear two hats. I watch teams flourish, step in and do my role, experience it. And I've come back and said, I don't need to take all of that stuff back. You keep going. And that's growth. Like when you have people that truly, people just need the opportunity. And even our kids grew. We didn't take our kids. One was 17 and the other 14. They were incredible. Like honestly, they know that a lot of people said, oh, surely you can't do that. They'll have parties. And I said, their number one thing is that they don't want to disappoint us. They, they're not like that. And they're not. And they know how to cook now. And they clean up after themselves. And so it was incredible, Rhea. It was absolutely incredible.
I remember reading your post once you were back from your sabbatical, and the pictures you shared. I think the whole experience was so wholesome.
Yeah.
And you are very open on LinkedIn that way. You're very open to communicating your stories, where you're the conference that you speak about, but more apart from that, just in general, what your personal passion, what drives you.
Yep. And I write every single one of my posts. I don't have a team, and that's how I want to communicate. And even the joking one of me sort of dancing, like be that lone dancer. Someone's always got to start the party, and I mean that in a general terms. To stop worrying what people think about you, and it's easier said than done. It really is. Once you learn, not everyone's going to like you or your style, and you can become your real authentic self. That's when the magic happens, and you can confidently step out without people like, are you worried someone will take your job? And I'm like, absolutely not. That's how you create space to move on to whatever next may come towards you.
And you're also very passionate about women empowerment, especially when it comes to girls in STEM. How have you seen the entire industry changing along? How are more girls entering this space? Are you seeing more initiatives taken for this?
It isn't changing fast enough, Ria. I mean, definitely. I think Microsoft's done some phenomenal work. You have to be deliberate. You know, I used to hate it when people would say you've got to have quotas. But if you don't have a goal, and I have been that female that's interviewed two people, a male and a female, and the female said to me, I just don't think I'm ready. And I believed her. I don't now. I say, we'll help you. No one knows how to do the next job. And so now I go, you can do it. Like, we're going to support you. And we just have to think differently. And I think it's through those personal examples of mine. But the stats aren't changing fast enough. Across Australia and New Zealand, women in tech are around 27%. It's just not good enough. So what we've done is we've kicked off a program called 10K Women, which is a program which is free. It gives women mentorship, cohorts, free certifications into Microsoft Tech. But we're going another step, and we're going to track how many move into tech roles. So with my partner hat on, we reached out to all of our partners and said, if we bring these women to this level, they've got the certificate, they've got the piece of paper that they've been through it, would you employ them? They said yes. So they opened up roles. And so now we're introducing these women into these businesses, because women, you don't know where to start. And so we want to do even more of that. And we're tracking some incredible journeys of some of these wonderful women that later in life, women returning from maternity leave, they're going, yeah, I really like this tech sector and I reckon I belong.
And I would love to ask you, if it was one advice you would give aspiring professionals, it doesn't have to be people in STEM necessarily, but just who are starting out in their corporate career, what would that be?
Write down your goals. And I mean an integrated personal and work plan. I think that's something I did around the age of 18. My father at the time really challenged me about, what do you want out of life? And despite him, I'm like, I want a house and I want to earn X amount of dollars. And and he said, write it down. And it wasn't surprising that it actually happened. And I think a lot of people just don't write it down. They don't have a real plan. And I would also say to everybody listening, stop talking so horribly to yourself. Like, catch yourself when you're that voice in your head. Would you speak to a 5-year-old the way you're speaking to yourself? Be kinder to yourself, because it's that sort of intrinsic energy of you're not good enough, and you can't do this, that you start believing, and then you don't take the risks. And I'm someone from such an odd background that's in such a privileged position. And I think it's stepping into the harder things, the things that people say don't do. As long as you have support around you, I say do them. Do them well and do what you say you're going to do. There's too many people in this world that just don't do that simple task. So, yeah, write goals, turn that voice down, and just truly learn stress management at a younger age. I used to think meditation kind of a waste of time. I've still not created it, but I do breathing exercises. I know it sounds simple, but when you're in that fight or fright kind of situation, you're hyperventilating, and that stress is just, it isn't going to calm you. And yeah, so yeah, just believe in yourself a lot more than you're 80% better than you think you are.
And we always end on this question, but if you were to win a lottery and money wasn't a factor, what would you do with that, with your time?
Exactly what I'm doing now. I feel like I have won the lottery. I have the most incredible husband. I have two children that I am so proud of. I had a year off with both of them, but I was absolutely a working mum that theoretically climbed some sort of corporate ladder, which meant that my husband had to be the one more there for them.
Hmm.
But I asked them recently, how do you feel about your mum working all these years? They said, proud. Our son said, it shows that anyone can do what you do, mum. He said it should be against the law if women are paid less than men. And we see the platform that you're using with Microsoft to do so good with Maori Pacifica, with education, with women, with accessibility for our LGBTI communities. I want to be that voice. And I think our kids and our daughters just gone to university, something I never had the opportunity to do. Just so proud of them. So I truly feel like I have won the lotto.
That's truly, truly inspiring, Vanessa. And I thank you for so much for taking your time out to speak to us and sharing your incredible story. I think so many of us can learn from it, specifically, how starting from nothing to now where you've reached, it's something everyone can try and strive for. And you're living proof of that. So thank you so
Well,
much.
you can do anything. You just got to put your mind to it, build a plan, commit to it, get the support around you. It's so important because not everyone wants you to be successful. So just find those people, find your crew, and yeah, just life's exceptional, and we have one shot at it. So make it count.
Thank you, Vanessa, for this conversation.
Oh, thanks, Ria. Lovely to meet you.